So after you arrive at 9, you would come down here to the gathering place, and this is where you would spend time with the guest until lights out, which is 10:30. Whenever a guest is upstairs, there needs to be a volunteer up there with them. And then throughout the night, there needs to be at least one volunteer awake upstairs at all times. You can arrange a sleeping schedule with the other volunteers. After the lights are out, all of the food needs to be put away, in the fridge or wherever it needs to go. If a registered guest comes back later and they have approval, it's okay to go ahead and let them in. If we have an unregistered guest that shows up, we have signs posted upstairs by the door and in the office that tells you the procedure for that. And if you have any questions, you can call the manager on call, and they can kind of walk you through how to handle that if you aren't sure. The door is to remain locked until the morning shift arrives around 6. All medication except emergency meds, are to remain locked in the medicine cabinet, but the guests do have access to them. All they need to do is come to you and ask, and then you can go ahead and walk them through that. And if there's an emergency, you call 911, and then the manager on call. And then if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask a manager. So one thing we do ask the overnight volunteers to do is the shelter laundry. The towels should be done nightly, and they're always between the two dryers here. And then upstairs we have a soiled linen, which is like the bedding. Those tubs are upstairs. If there is stuff in there, we would ask that you would do that too. And when it's all done, you wash it, dry it, fold it, and take care of it so that it's ready for the next day. The gloves are over here. We ask that you wear them when you're doing the shelter linen, just so that you can keep yourself a little protected. The guests do their own laundry. We are not responsible for their laundry. They can do those, again, in the morning before they leave and after dinner until lights out.
So here at the main shelter door, there's a couple things I want to point out. There's just a devotion sign, an emergency protocol sign, which these are posted all over the facility. But then this unregistered guest policy is really important. So if at any time during your shift, whether that's evening or overnight, most likely, somebody shows up who's not a registered guest, here's what we need to do. There's a phone number on here to call Central Dispatch, the Gratiot County Central Dispatch, and tell them that you need a civil assist. Now, they're not coming to arrest anybody, and it's really important that the individual standing at the door knows they're not in any kind of trouble. We've partnered with the Salvation Army and our local police departments to provide one-night vouchers for a motel room. So a police officer from St. Louis PD will arrive. They will have a motel voucher that they can give this individual. Now, if the individual has their own means of transportation, they can head down to the Comfortable Inn where they will stay for a night, and we will get them registered the next day. If they don't have transportation, particularly if the weather is really bad or it's late at night, the police officer can probably transport them. In that case, we want to encourage the individual to leave as much of their belongings here as possible. We'll keep them locked up and safe in their absence. And they leave them here because to get into the police car, you have to be searched. All your belongings have to be searched. So just to cut down on how much of that's taking place, we want to encourage them to leave things here. And again, I want to emphasize, it's really important that they know they're not in trouble, they're not going to be arrested. The police officer's coming to give them assistance and lodging for one night so that the next day we can get them enrolled here at Hope House. Now, you'll know who is an approved guest by a list on the check-in desk. It's just a piece of paper taped down to the desk that says registered guests, and each one of them is named on that sheet. And so if the person at the door is not registered or you're not sure, you can check their ID or their name against that list on the check-in desk.